Perfect. Good afternoon, all of you online also. Jai Hind, Anurag. जय हिंद लिखता है भाई अनुराग हमेशा. क्लास के बाद दोगे आराम से खाऊंगा. क्या जो मार्जिनल रिटर्न्स डालो, जिसने आखिरी खाया मुझे बताना, उसको लास्ट डे वाली ट्रीट कैंसिल कर दूंगा. तुम लोग खाते हो, मैं ही खाता हूँ. नो आई टेल यू वन थिंग दैट हैपेंस. और ऐश्वर्या एक बात बताओ, तुमसे कौन छीन लेगा? Okay, let's see. So, just a few things. Let's get going. उसको तंग मत करो, वायलेंट हो जाता है. सीधा हाथ दिखाएगा. मतलब बेटा आओ फिर आओ. All right. Let's see this then. Let's get going. Just one thing there. I might take your entire Monday to finish up on things, but would like to meet you. I'm sure for all of you it would be possible. जो अभी क्लास के लिए नहीं भी आ रहे हो, हाँ वो ट्यूसडे को भी ऑनलाइन ही रहना, फिर तो देखना कैसा है. नहीं या फिर धप्पा कर दूं. मैं आप लोगों को ट्यूसडे को बुला रहा हूँ, मंडे को ही बोलूँ देखो सारा अरेंजमेंट है, बात खत्म हो गई. Anyways, no. So what I was just discussing that only with Sandeep sir. He is always the pivotal agent. Yeah. So looking at the course that we are left with, I think today and day after tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm not calling you because 3 o'clock we don't have the room. So today and day after tomorrow, I think it will be able to get over with things. Maybe at most half an hour, 40 minutes left. We can use Tuesday for that. And then we can keep Tuesday. I'm just arranging a small refreshment, nothing big, because I know we don't have scope for a very big thing here. But there will be. मतलब तुम चाहते हो आसपास के लोग निकाल ही दें हम लोगों को अब यहाँ से. So we'll do this across. So Tuesday, it will be great if you guys can be here. Try not missing it. Even those of you who are looking at things online right now, if you can make it to the place, it will be great. Because after Tuesday, most of the times that for test series, of course, I'll be meeting you offline also. But I'm sure by then, most of you would be home and so on. So we'll see. So Tuesday, I would love to see you all. So come over. On Tuesday, we will have the last session. As my calculation says, will easily be done by Tuesday then. All right. Today we begin with the way forward for agriculture. You give a heading. Am I? आईईएस वालों के लिए अलग से पार्टी होगी. आईईएस वाले अभी जाएंगे कहाँ बेचारे. उनका तो अगर प्रीलिम्स लिख रहे हो तब तो तुम्हारे लिए ये साल मरम्मत वाला साल है. प्रीलिम्स खत्म करके एक दिन का भी रिस्पाइट नहीं, बैठ जाना है वापस पढ़ने को. बट आईईएस में होता क्या है दैट इफ यू आस्क मी ऑफलाइन, लास्ट ईयर वी हैड अ सिचुएशन व्हेन 2 people were coming offline. Everybody else was trying to do it online and all. But I would suggest those of you who are enrolled offline should attend your IES classes offline, because I have been getting this feeler from the institute that maybe live online will not be possible for offline people. So IES classes, you attend them, maybe 10, 12 classes maximum is what it takes us to get over. Also, since तुमने बोला IES, तुम्हें सभी को ये बता देता हूँ, जब आप IES की क्लास करने आते हो, इंडियन इकोनॉमिक सर्विसेज की एक स्पेसिफिक क्लासेस, ये तो खैर ऑप्शनल के लिए भी हैं. आईईएस का एग्जाम वही दे सकता है जो मास्टर्स इन इकोनॉमिक्स हो. तो मैं मान के चलता हूं कि आप मास्टर्स इन इकोनॉमिक्स हो और वैसे पढ़ाता हूं, तो कृपया अपने अंदर के बच्चे को शांत रखेंगे और मास्टर्स की तरह ही पढ़कर आएंगे. जैसे मैं मानता हूं कि कुछ चीजें, मतलब मुझे बताने की जरूरत नहीं कि कोवेरियंस और वेरियंस और रिग्रेशन और कोरिलेशन का फर्क क्या है. अगर वैसी हालत में हो तो एक अंडर ग्रेजुएट की किताब उठाओ और पढ़ो, क्योंकि कहने के लिए तो तुम खुद को पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट क्लेम कर रहे हो. ठीक है, ये बातें अंडर ग्रेजुएट के बच्चे वैसे जानते होते हैं. तो ये बात मैं मान तो, क्योंकि कभी कभी आपसे 1-2 फीडबैक मिलता है दैट सर ने उतने डिटेल में नहीं पढ़ाया जितने डिटेल में ऑप्शनल को पढ़ा रहे थे. वेल, मैं आपको आईईएस के लिए पढ़ा रहा हूँ, तो ऑप्शनल के लिए पढ़ाते हुए मेरे दिमाग में होता है दैट सम ऑफ यू कैन कम विद अ बैकग्राउंड of engineering, somebody can be with a normal graduation background, not economics. So in that case, I go to the very basics, assuming nobody has done any economics at all. But Indian Economic Services, आप मेरा दूसरा रूप देखेंगे उसमें, क्योंकि मैं मान के चलता हूँ कि आप masters in economics हैं. So if you are masters in economics, I have to assume that you are masters in economics and teach you accordingly. So if I am setting up a Lagrange, I will not be I'm not expecting myself to tell you that what is a Lagrange. I mean, if you don't know what is a Lagrange and have done masters in economics, come and hug me. क्योंकि तुम्हें तीसरे फ्लोर ले जाऊंगा अपने साथ हग किए हुए और वहां से फेंक दूंगा नीचे इकोनॉमिक्स के नाम पे धब्बे. so, so, so please be careful. क्या बोलो 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 बोलो. मुझसे ले भूलेगा ही नहीं. तो तुम्हारे साथ कूद के तुम पे ऊपर कूद जाऊंगा ना. तुम्हें क्या लगता है मैं बॉयज हॉस्टल में बड़ा हुआ हूं. मत छोड़ना मुझे. टॉम एंड जेरी में देखा तो नीचे धंसते हैं कैसे एक साथ, फिर ऐसे कपड़े झाड़ते खड़े होते हैं, वैसे ही हम दोनों खड़े होंगे. और सोचो अगर मैं तुम्हारे ऊपर गिर रहा हूं 90 किलो का आदमी, तो एक ही खड़ा होगा फिर तो. Alright, let's see. लेकिन क्या क्या विचार है सोचो, आपको छोड़ेंगे ही नहीं, आपके साथ ही जाएंगे. Okay, let's get going. So you write way forward for agriculture, but Tuesday I hope all of you can take time and be here. I won't take much of your time, as I said, half an hour, 40 minutes as I teach you, and then we will try keeping it crisp. I know all of you are getting close and would like to study. We'll keep it crisp across. We won't stretch it much. Okay, now way forward in agriculture, you write 1. Okay, one more thing. Whenever you are writing an answer on agricultural productivity, way forward, whatever I'm making you write right now, always add to that also the points you have already written in the evergreen revolution part. All that should come on its own. All right? So you write in that, first point, improving facility for animal husbandry, improving facility for animal husbandry, like better sheds, SHEDS, better sheds for animals, comma, better veterinary support for animals, comma, improved facility of disease control, and infrastructure development for animals in order to create alternative source of income for farmers. So this is one, promoting pisciculture, promoting poultry, promoting beekeeping, promoting cattle rearing. All that helps in animal development or animal rearing and so on. alternative source of income, that is the key factor. So that's one, again I repeat, to begin with. Two, you write, इसमें एक बात का और ध्यान रखोगे, मैं फिर रिपीट कर रहा हूँ, बार बार इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ कि बिल्कुल मिस मत करना. Whatever steps government has added in this year's budget, and before mains, if it becomes possible for you, check into the steps I have taught in the last year's budget, even though I have incorporated them in the talk this year, but the steps I took in last year's budget that I have talked, अगर पिछले 2 साल के budget का steps तुम include कर लेते हो, it will give you good points and it will allow you to remain more contemporary. So try doing that across. Second, you write, improved credit facilities for not only farmers, but also food processing and agricultural business industries, food processing and agricultural business industries, to assure that there is more incentive of value addition, in agriculture. Then you write, third point, agricultural marketing should be modernized. Agricultural marketing should be modernized. Comma, by improving infrastructure, of APMC market, comma, allowing farmers to sell in any market of their choice, and reducing the number of middlemen in agriculture. In the notes that I have given you, you will see a small section on analysis of farm reforms, because the notes were made when the farm bills had been passed. Now the bills are repealed, so I'm not discussing the bills individually, but in your notes you will find them. Go through them, because there you will be able to read through some of the benefits that the bills would have created. So that will allow you to understand, okay, this was the reform needed in agriculture. And along with that, I have also given you the reasons why bill could not be passed or bill could not be continued because of the protests and also what were the reasons of the protest. I've given it to you. In fact, there are pros and the cons. They're both there. So you just go through that once. It will help you understand some reforms agriculture needs in India. along with what has not happened across. So that is the basic idea, all right, that we go across. All right. So if you improve your infrastructure, no, they're different things. Improve the infrastructure by improving infrastructure of APMC market and allow the farmers to sell in the market of any choice. Because remember, when you say the farmer can sell in the market of any choice, you have to create markets for that first. Like there has to be another yard, there has to be another place where they can go, set of people who come over there. Say for example, you have licensed traders who come to APMC market. So how about creating another market structure and a yard where you can go, and you will not get APMC traders and you will not get any promised MSP, but you will get to interact with people who are coming from crop aggregation background or food processing background or maybe big trading background, and they can also buy from there. So one will be kind of a market which doesn't promise you an MSP. APMC can keep promising MSP. In that case, it is farmer's choice. If the farmer are willing to take the risk, that okay, I'll not go to APMC market, I'll go to this market. Now you have several markets developed like that. It will put a challenge to APMC traders also that they don't manipulate the farmers who come to them. All right, so that kind of development we can talk about. ENAM is another infrastructure growth for market. Then you write next point. Contract farming should be introduced. Contract farming should be introduced by framing, Contract farming should be introduced by framing a proper law for it, framing a proper law for it, such that farmer is not exploited, but gets connected to big aggregators, who can give bulk orders, provide extension support, give formal contract. I hope you would recall extension support from yesterday. Give formal contract and assured marketing benefits for the farmers. Assured marketing benefits for the farmers. And remember, regarding contract farming, already if you ask me, contract farming is happening in India. The only difference is that we are doing it clandestinely. As in, maybe clandestinely is also a wrong word. We are rather doing it outside the law. Outside the law doesn't mean illegal. Outside the law means not having a proper law for it. तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट फार्मिंग चल रहा है, कानून नहीं है उसके लिए, लेकिन कोई अब अगर कानून नहीं है तो होता क्या है, फिर जिसकी लाठी उसकी भैंस. If there is no proper law for it, then people try taking advantage of the farmers. Sometimes there is a whole system built in favor of large corporates. Sometimes there is a system built in favor of large farmers who then become a middleman between corporates and the smaller farmers. So it is more cumbersome. Rather, if we can have a good law passed, explaining in all details regarding who can be the buyers, who can be the sellers, which kind of crops can be brought under contract, who will be the arbitrating authority, where will be the appellate body, all this if we can establish, then that will make for good agricultural contract farming. All the bad news about Pepsi doing wrong to the farmers, we get so often. One bad news out of maybe 1,000 things that happens. How about good news? Take West Bengal. McDonald's enters into a contract with farmers, and in this contract, McDonald's trains them how to grow potato according to the need of the industry. Also trains, that is, now what is the need of the industry? The food industry needs potato. By food industry, I mean McDonald's, KFC, etc. They need potato with low moisture content, where the moisture content is not more than 75%. All right, if moisture content goes above 75%, then all their French fries and all start looking those dark brown, and customers reject them for looking bad. So they say that, look, because they're not bad things, they're just that moisture content was high, and then you deep fried them, they turn dark brown. But customers reject them. Customers say that, oh, they're not good to eat, and they look bad. So these guys now train the farmers into growing potato with lesser moisture content. They also trained the farmers in growing drought-resistant potato, that in case you have a drought, it will resist it. And then in 2019, in West Bengal, there was a dearth of rainfall, and those farmers who were in contract with McDonald's could still make a good enough profit. Those who were not, unfortunately, made losses. Now that shows the impact that these people can have by creating the extension services they can provide. What do you need? When people say, oh, but these guys will exploit the farmers. So we are assuming they will exploit the farmers. There are 2-3 things in it that you should keep in mind. We are assuming they will exploit the farmers in spite of the government. So that will then mean that government is a party to it. And then we are believing that the same government will save the farmers if they directly buy from the farmers through APMC markets. That's contradictory in thought process. So we got to improve on governance, and that is why a law is needed. Also, we are assuming here that farmers today are not exploited. This law will result in their exploitation. What we need to understand is that farmers today are in a bad shape. We need to give them a new rope in terms of either a contract farming, high value crop farming, making sure storage capacities, etc. are developed. When we give all that, then they will be in a much better position to earn, allowing for farmer producer organization, farming cooperatives to be developed. So if we can do all that, we are making things in a much better shape. What I'm only imploring you about is about modernizing Indian agriculture, not only in terms of technology, but also in terms of institutions. Our institutions are outdated. Our laws are outdated. They are made from days when India was a different economy. Today, India is a different economy. So keep like that. So contract farming in that sense. But again, I repeat, we need to decide who will be the arbitrating authority, regulatory body, what will be the appellate body, what are the rights of the farmers. All those should be well established. They were to a great extent well established in the Contract Farming Act that the government had brought. दिक्कत ये हुई जब उसके बारे में झूठ बातें फैलाई जाने लगी. झूठ बातें जैसे किसान की जमीन चली जाएगी, कॉर्पोरेट ले लेंगे. उसमें क्लॉज था कि किसान अपनी जमीन नहीं बेच सकते हैं. वो चाहे तो भी नहीं दे सकते हैं. There was a clause in it. Similarly, there was another lie spread that apart from farmer losing his land, there was another lie spread about it that only SDM is the authority where the issue will end. And that was made a lot of hue and cry about. What if the SDM gets it wrong? Who will arbitrate for the farmers? There was a clause that if SDM doesn't, or if SDM is not in a position, or if SDM is making a ruling which the farmers are not accepting, they can appeal it in the High Court. So there were clauses, but as happens in our country, that when the din arises, then everything is gone. एक बार शोर शराबा शुरू हुआ तो चीजें खत्म हो जाती हैं. ये हमारे यहाँ उस वक्त भी हुआ. But point is, then why did the law not pass the muster? First of all, when you say contract farming, how do you introduce contract farming without having an agricultural regulatory authority? So if you don't have a regulatory authority and you want to set up a market, that market will have mischief. That was one reason that was a problem. Secondly, how do you do it without educating the farmers about their rights? It is not simply about giving rights to people, it's also about having an institution which will take the responsibility that we will educate the farmers about their rights. Until we have not educated them completely and fully, we will be responsible for making sure that the contracts are not anti-farmer. So these small checks and balances were missing. Next time, if we create such a law, we introduce it, if we can do it with these things, that will be a much better idea. Regarding farm laws, if you ask me, the biggest error, if you ask me, was central government introducing it. It should have been introduced by state governments in their respective states. And then those state governments should have worked hard to make it successful. And if it goes successful, that will be great. But the whole idea was not that. And I will not go into the politics of it, but the whole idea was not that. Yes. Why should, see, you have state electricity regulatory commissions and a central electricity regulatory commission. It is giving you a pan-India approach. But if the institutions are hierarchically set up, then it should not be a problem. That was because only Madhya Pradesh government was passing that rule and Maharashtra was not. But here we are talking about a pan-India rule. If they are part, see, important thing is make them a part of it. All right. Have you seen what do actual leaders do? Think of it. Contemporarily तुम देखना वाजपेयी जी जैसे थे. एक कंटेम्प्रेरी लीडर की बात कर रहा हूं, जो उनके ऑपोजिशन में है ना, वो भी उन्हें मना नहीं करते. Well, at the moment we have political acrimony, but imagine if we make it a vote winning system for the government, there will be none. They change their colors very quickly. They just have to be convinced this will get you votes, sir. You know, so that is a different thing altogether. What we are saying is, plus they are people who would look for benefit of the country, I'm sure, because whatever interaction little I have had with people across party lines, they look for country's benefit, but they don't want to compromise their position in the process. But that was my point, that you know, first of all, at least go for an institution like that. Otherwise, if you go in a system where you have made the rule but the institutions are missing, nobody trusts it. Yes. वो एक डिफरेंट पॉइंट है, लेकिन जो एग्रीकल्चरल रिसर्च का पॉइंट है वो अलग पॉइंट है. उसकी बात हम लोग कल कर भी रहे थे, क्या रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट पे प्रोग्रेस डालना पड़ेगा, पर वो एक अलग पॉइंट है. ठीक है, यहां पर तो बात कर रहे हैं कॉन्ट्रैक्ट फार्मिंग की. let them go outdated. That is the point. In a federal system, you don't want everybody to agree to your point. And since you asked me this, I'll tell you. The whole idea is that at the moment, people ruling Punjab are people who are in sync with the traders in Punjab. Same was the case with Congress government. Akali Dal had the same thing. Akali Dal lost that confidence. They were voted out. Now, how do you win Punjab if you are a Bharatiya Janata Party? Marginalize the traders. How do you marginalize the traders? Bring agricultural laws all over India, including Punjab. Why do you think there was such a huge reaction from Punjab to that extent and parts of Haryana? Because they are the people who support the opposition. Now politically people realize that if these laws get passed, we are completely gone because people who give me money are gone. And that is why all that hue and cry. So things were ultimately political. Why do you think the Bharatiya Janata Party wanted it to be implemented all over India? Well, they wanted because it was Punjab election within 2 years. You get these laws passed, and by the time elections come, the traders in Punjab are weakened, and these are historically supporters of Congress Party, etc. Kejriwal ji made a master stroke, supporting all the people in Delhi across, and since Congress was in its own infight, which is more rule for them than exception these days. So you know, he got a very good opportunity where people in Punjab realized, okay, Congress is in shambles. These guys are not going to win this election anymore. Akalis we don't support, and BJP is that party which brought the farm bill. How about these guys? So understand that whole farm bill saga was that. I mean, आप भारत से पॉलिटिक्स अलग ही नहीं कर पाते हैं कभी. बिहार ने क्यों चेंज किया? PSES क्यों लेकर आए APMC हटाकर? एपीएमसी मार्केट बिहार में कब हटाया गया? 2006 में। क्यों हटाया गया एपीएमसी मार्केट? क्यों प्राइमरी एग्रीकल्चर ट्रेड सोसाइटीज लाए गए? नीतीश कुमार जी ने रियलाइज किया दैट 95% ऑफ ट्रेडर्स इन एपीएमसी मार्केट वर सपोर्टर्स ऑफ लालू जी. How do you marginalize supporters of Lalu ji? So you marginalize them by making sure that I won't give you business. Now how will you make sure that they don't get business? You say, look, now the procurement won't happen via APMC market. The procurement will happen via PSES, Primary Agriculture Trade Societies, and we will choose now giving new licenses to traders in PSES. So what do? You remove people who were Lalu ji's chosen people, replace them with people who are your chosen people. Procurement is still done by the government. This was 2006. Some people during this farm bill agitation had said, Bihar removed APMC, look what happened to Bihar. What happened to Bihar? Nobody tried checking. Everybody said, yeah, look what happened to Bihar. And Bihar in any case has a reputation that everything is wrong in Bihar. So everybody believes something must have happened wrong in Bihar. You know, people who have never been to Bihar also have their own intuitions about Bihar. You know, I've heard as strange things as, oh, if you are from Bihar, how do you speak this English? You know, ये तक सुना मैंने लाइफ में. मैंने कहा अजीब बात है भाई, तुम आओ स्टेट में तुम्हें एक से एक अंग्रेजी बोलने वाले मिलेंगे, कैसी अजीब सी बात करते हो. बट ये इंप्रेशन है हमारा, you know, कि अगर अच्छा एक जगह से हैं तो ऐसे ही होंगे. But anyways, now what happens in Bihar? 2006 we shift APMC market. 1991 to 2005, Bihar's agricultural growth was at 1.8% per annum. My source of data is Bihar State Development Report, which gets published every year and has agricultural data for every year. 2006 to 2014, Bihar's agricultural growth was 3.9% per annum, more than double of Bihar's agricultural growth before APMC. But why? Not because APMC was removed and PSES was brought in, but rather because Nitish Kumar ji was heavily working on infrastructure, especially road development. So 2005 to 2010, Bihar saw tremendous road development all across the state, and that meant marketing became easier, cost of doing business became easier, and that promoted agricultural growth in Bihar. That was 2010. Now comes 2014. All right, 2013-14 that is. Now in 2014, Nitish Kumar ji leaves NDA, joins hands with Lalu ji. Now PSES again becomes irrelevant. All the traders had joined hands. Now many of them were from BJP also. क्योंकि 2005 से 2014 तक बीजेपी और जनता दल यूनाइटेड का गठबंधन चल रहा था. They had a coalition. So now many traders in PSES were BJP supporters, many were JDU supporters. Nitish Kumar ji has changed his track now. He realizes this is not good news. All these BJP supporters will also get to learn. What does he introduce? Elections will happen to PSES. Now there will be no more licensed traders. There will be election to primary agricultural credit societies. Knowing that with elections, since they have a good coalition, their people will win in these elections and they will come together. They come together, elections happen, their chosen people get elected. 2015, he becomes the chief minister. 2017, again he has a change of heart. He goes to BJP. Again he realizes, this is not good. In the process, some people supporting RJD are now the member of it. He announces a mid-term election 2018, saying that PSES the farmers have lost confidence in PSES. And Nitish Kumar ji is a very intelligent politician. He doesn't do anything himself. He always keeps quiet. You ask him a direct question, he will give you an indirect reply. You know. So people asked him that, do you think this change is brought by farmers? He said, ask the farmers, they will answer. That is why mid-term elections are needed. Now 2018, these elections happen. Again, chosen people are elected. 2020 odd, he again has a change of heart. The result is what? Bihar's agriculture, which was growing at 3.9% between 2006 to 2014, has now registered a growth of 2.7% between 2014 to 2020. But still, Bihar is growing agriculturally faster than what it grew in 1991 to 2005. So if I have to make an argument, for argument's sake, against anyone who says that APMC removal has created problem for Bihar, I can argue it out using the growth figures that post APMC, Bihar has done much better growth-wise. But you know, that is why one-line articles, references are written. APMC has been removed in Bihar. See what happened in Bihar. See what happened in Bihar. But the problem is Bihar's agriculture and Bihar's position was bad before and after APMC. Because Bihar's problem in agriculture is not APMC. It's illiteracy of farmers, it's casteism in the mandi. You know, आप नॉर्मल मंडी में बिजनेस नहीं कर सकते, आपका पूरा नाम पूछते हैं। उत्तर प्रदेश और बिहार इस मामले में माहिर हैं और खुद को छिपाने की कोशिश करते हैं ये बोलकर कि नहीं नहीं होता तो हर जगह है, होता हर जगह है, इस डिग्री पे होता बहुत कम देखा मैंने, जिस डिग्री पे बिहार में और उत्तर प्रदेश में होता है। तो ये हमें समझना पड़ेगा कि ये हमारे नुकसान करती हैं हमारे स्टेट में, जो भी स्टेट में ऐसा होगा। Many places these issues are resolved. Tamil Nadu resolved its issue with respect to at least caste conflict with the Periyar movement. So few places the issues got resolved. Now they are there, the undercurrents are still there. You go to Tamil Nadu, undercurrents of the casteism. You go to Kerala, undercurrents of casteism. They are there, but at least in a resolved mode. Mandalization of politics did not resolve the caste conflict in Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. If anything, it magnified it further. So few set of people again gained out of that. They became the new or the new upper castes, as I always call it. Few still remain marginalized. Nitish Kumar ji being Nitish Kumar ji, उनको क्या, आपको क्या लगता है, वो जब वो बात करते हैं अदर बैकवर्ड कास्ट और जब उन्होंने कहा कि ये है महादलित, ऐसी ऐसी बात कहाँ से आती है? बैकवर्ड कास्ट में अब फूट डालो तो जो लोग अगर बाई चांस, अब मेरे कास्ट के लोग उतने नहीं है नंबर में, वोटिंग कास्ट पे होती है, जो यादव्स हैं अगर वो वोट करेंगे लालू जी को, तो चलो ऐसा करते हैं एक हम और क्लास बना देते हैं इसी के बीच में, and then these guys will vote for me. That is the politics that we do. If that is the politics that we do, then how do you think agricultural reforms will be in anybody's mind? So always be careful. Normally I thought I will not tell you these things, but since we brought the political aspect of it, believe me, unless we don't understand the politics of different states and then the coalition jump, flip and flop, we will not be able to appreciate what's exactly happening in agriculture, because everybody knows, every political leader, and don't undermine them, they're people with their ears on the ground. So they know what will get them votes immediately, in spite of not having done the hard work. So they play that card at times. So that is why agriculture becomes that playing field. That, okay, we'll play out here and win the elections and then we'll see later how it comes. So always be careful on that. Because they are few and far off. No, that is the problem, no? That one villager is not doing it. The set of villages either doing it or the set of villages not doing it. You understand that? That is why it becomes a problem part. That then it takes long time. And you know what happens? I'm answering an important question. I'm answering that if it is becoming good and if we have success stories of contract farming, then why don't we see the demonstration effect? So another reason is, when I answered, another reason is that what happens is, for every 10 good news that you create, there is always that 5 with all the bad informations in the mind too. These guys will do this, they will do that, you know, the corporates will have a bad impact. And then the corporates are no less in India. They are greedy. So they do those activities which reflect greed. And that further makes things bad. Because if a farmer has, if suppose I am a farmer, I decide to take a change. I make a change and then I suffer. Now you have, for life I will never make that change. I will advise my next generation also, don't do this. That has also been a case in India in many places. No, we don't have a proper law regarding that. So regulation becomes a problem. सोचना भी मत ऐसी बात है। यही सब करके तो सोवियत यूनियन बिखर गए। जब भी हम ये सोचते हैं ना कि हम लोगों को माइक्रो मैनेज कर लेंगे, जैसे मैं तुम्हारी क्लास ले रहा हूँ, तुम्हें पढ़ा रहा हूँ, तुम में से 50 लोगों के मन में आलस आया, तो तुम्हारा दिमाग तुम्हें बोले, या 5 या 100 के भी मन में आया, 100 people will think, oh, ठीक है, sir is at the moment doing all basic things and mains-oriented things. I'll do it later. Right now I should focus on my prelims. You focus on your prelims. What you are doing at the moment is, if you had to do this class, 2.5 hours extra for this class, and then prelims, which meant 2.5 hours of extra work. But sometimes the mind will tell you, don't do that 2.5 hours of extra work. So it's like that marginal propensity of consume effect. You will take 2.5 hours outside the class, but you will study only 1.5 hour outside the class, and the rest 1 hour will be spent relaxing. The mind gets a mental relaxation. Ah, there is no class today. It doesn't mean you will study all entire 3 hours if there is no class today. Recall all those days when I didn't take a class. It didn't mean that the day was spent 2:45 to 5:45 studying. But that's a mental solace. Oh, I'll study. So when you do it like that, that is all a mental thing that works. Now with that mental thing, what happens is, if somebody tries now micromanaging you, if I say, no, 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 hang on, you will have to do it, I will force you to do it, I can make you sit. You will start finding different excuses to do that. That is why micromanagement should never be thought of. कॉलेज में कंपलसरी अटेंडेंस करते थे, हम उन्हें मेडिकल सर्टिफिकेट दे दिया करते थे, तो बात तो वहीं खत्म हो गई. So it doesn't work. Never think about micromanaging at all. नहीं, प्राइसिंग या सेलिंग तो रॉ फूड की भी हो रही है. जो किसान बेचता है कॉन्ट्रैक्टर को, वो प्रोसेस्ड फूड नहीं है. खेत से काटता है, कॉन्ट्रैक्टर का ट्रैक्टर लगा रहता है, उस पर लग जाती हैं चीजें, वो अपना गाना गाते चला जाता है. हाँ, दैट इज हाउ फार्मिंग हैपेंस इन इंडिया टुडे. तो यही आनी चाहिए कि जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट फार्मिंग होगी, पेप्सी को अगर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करते हैं, मैकडॉनल्ड्स कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करते हैं, तो ग्रुप ऑफ फार्मर्स से करेंगे ना. तो ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट रेगुलेशन के अंदर होना चाहिए. क्या मिनिस्ट्री एक रेगुलेटरी बॉडी होती है? मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ फाइनेंस तो है ही, तो सेबी की क्या जरूरत है? मैं तुम्हें बोलता रहा हूं कि मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ फाइनेंस है ना, तो सेबी क्यों रखते हैं? IRDAI क्यों रखते हैं? मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ टेलीकॉम है, तो ट्राई क्यों रखते हैं? हमेशा ऐसा सोचोगे, ठीक है? Possible that small farmers can suffer, but that is the point, that how does the law pitch the small farmer against the company? Do they have the right, first of all, in the law? Today what's happening, they don't even have a law supporting them. What can be done to them today, think? And you know, the same guys are so quiet when the same small farmers are being crushed, if I can actually use the word that they also used, by the traders in APMC market, the latest coming from Lavasa. Think of it. Potato, onion prices coming down. These traders are crushing the farmers. I see nobody saying that this should not be done. So that is okay, no? Traders can exploit the farmers, but others cannot do business with them. Or is it the fear that if others start doing business with them, the traders won't be able to exploit them? You know, so that there's always the other side of the story. Okay, you please take the next point then. You write, Essential Commodities Act. Essential Commodities Act should be amended. Essential Commodities Act should be amended because it results in discouraging storage capacity creation, for agricultural commodities. I hope you would recollect it. This I have said many times in the class also, that if you keep something like an Essential Commodities Act, in which you are prohibiting storing more than say 50 quintal, then you cannot expect people to have storage space of 50 tons or 500 tons. अगर आप कहते हो ये इलीगल है कि आप अपने पास रखोगे क्रॉप को स्टोर करके, तो कोई बनाएगा ही नहीं वो क्रॉपिंग स्टोरेज फैसिलिटी. This is one challenge, and today's India, we keep saying that, is a surplus country. We need to make sure that there is a lot of storage capacity and cold storage chain facility so that wastages can be reduced, so that we can make sure distress sale doesn't happen, so that we can make sure that warehousing depository receipts can be issued, and all that will make sure that farmers are better off. So that is the reason why storage capacity and Essential Commodities Act was a part of the 3 bills that the government had brought, or act that they had passed. Essential Commodities Act, nobody had an objection to it, but for some reason, since the other 2 were gone, this third was gone too. But ideally, there should have been no objection to Essential Commodities Act, and there was no major objection to Essential Commodities Act. Then you write next, I meant no objection to removal of Essential Commodity Act. Then you write next, increasing public investment in agriculture increasing public investment in agriculture so that there is more productivity and less cost of doing business for small farmers. All right. So these are the points you will write in way forward along with the points I suggested to you in the evergreen revolution part. All right. There is a question that was asked, that are farmers currently under compulsion of buying from APMC, selling to APMC? Yes, they are, if they want MSP. And another is that, can we use Matsya Sampada for animal husbandry development? You can use that. Anusha, you have asked your question, I've answered that. And another is where you asked me, Lydia, your answer I'm giving, that if we remove the middlemen, we should create an alternative for them. Absolutely. If you recall, we had discussed it earlier in manufacturing too. Being a middleman is not an illegal job in India. So if we are planning to reduce the middlemen or remove the middlemen, simultaneously there should be agricultural, rural industrialization. There should be training facilities, etc. So that people who will become unemployed as the number of middlemen shrinks, we will be able to employ them in alternative jobs, gainfully. So that all comes in, no doubt about it. It has to be there. Unless we don't do a wholesome structural reform. Always remember, you can't do agricultural reform in isolation, or you can't do industrial reform in isolation. That is the mistake we did. We allowed the reforms in urban areas, we allowed the reforms in particular sectors, those sectors zoomed up, those areas zoomed up, and other places where we did not allowed it, those places are struggling. So this is what we have to do, that it has to be wholesome, it has to be all together, so agricultural reforms, industrial reforms, and so on. And that is why we need to develop a better political consensus on reforms. The way we had in the initial 15, 16 years of reforms, it has eluded us in the last 8, 10 years of reforms. The thing is that. And to be honest to you, sometimes what I see in policy making recently, in the last 5, 6 years, 4, 5 years especially, maybe post Ms. Sitaraman days, is that she, at least the ministry, I don't know whether individually the minister, but at least the ministry looks completely bereft of ideas. उनको इकोनॉमिक्स समझ नहीं आ रही, ऐसा मुझे लगता है उनके पॉलिसी को देखकर. आप मुझसे डिफर कर सकते हो अपने पॉलिटिकल प्यार की वजह से कि नहीं सर, आपको अगर ऐसा लग रहा है तो आपको इकोनॉमिक्स ही नहीं आती. कोई मुझे कह देते हैं कभी कभी ऐसा कि नहीं, तुम्हें इकोनॉमिक्स कम आती है. फिर ठीक है, कम आती होगी, ये हो सकता है, अभी सीख ही रहा हूँ. लेकिन मुझे ऐसा लगता है हमेशा पॉलिसी फ्लिप फ्लॉप्स, एक अनाउंसमेंट किए फिर समरसॉल्ट मार दिए उस पर. कभी एक अनाउंसमेंट क्यों किए उनको खुद को भी नहीं पता, 2 साल बाद खुद ही भूल गए. ये जो फ्लिप फ्लॉप्स हैं, ये बताते हैं कि हमारे क्लैरिटी नहीं है. Why are we willing to do something? How will we do it? Roadmap is the missing link. And that is because the thinking is mainly to be media centered and defend everything that we are doing, You can't defend things in the long run. The whole point is that. It's like this. Suppose, and I hope I can explain to you with this example. I don't know whether you will get it. I hope you do. Suppose this is a piece of puzzle, and this puzzle gets fixed like this. Unless you have not drawn it fully, the puzzle is not solved. But suppose you have drawn this line, and somebody says, oh, no, 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 this is a problem. How do you think it will be resolved? Now, if you don't know that this is the actual solution to the puzzle, you will be equally confused because you have drawn this line cheating from what somebody else told you, that somebody can be your economic advisor or finance secretary, whosoever, and now you are equally confused. You don't know how to defend. And then you say, yeah, okay, let me draw half the line. Let's see if something can be done. Now, with half the line, you will never be able to solve the puzzle. So one fine day you say, no, no, maybe this puzzle is not solving my issue. I would rather create a whole new policy, which will be a whole new puzzle, and I will try solving that. That's exactly what we have been doing in India in the last 12, 13 years, and has become even more so in the last 4, 5 years. So this is the real trouble, if you ask me. कि हमें पूरा रोड मैप जब तक पता कन्विंस ना हूं मैं कि मैं क्यों कर रहा हूं ऐसा, तो होता क्या, मैं एक अनाउंसमेंट करता हूं 2 बैंक प्राइवेटाइज होगा, लोग चिल्लाते हैं अरे नहीं नहीं होगा नहीं होगा। मैं एक अनाउंसमेंट करता हूं 10% ऑफ फिस्कल डेफिसिट वी विल बोरो अब्रॉड, लोग चिल्लाते हैं, आर्टिकल लिखने लगते हैं नहीं 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 विल नॉट बोरो अब्रॉड, विल नॉट बोरो अब्रॉड। This is my point, that then you are doing nothing. And if you ask me about state government, they have not yet even chosen their puzzle. सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट तो कम से कम अपना एक पजल चुनते हैं, फिर उसमें कुछ करते हैं। स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स को तो पजल ही नहीं पता, अपना कुछ हो रहा है, चल रही है बात, कोई कहीं से कुछ बात बताते हैं तो उनको पता चला ऐसा भी होना चाहिए, ठीक है। बिकॉज हाफ ऑफ देम आर लिविंग ऑन पॉलिटिकल लेगेसी लेफ्ट टू देम, they are not living on, because states, again, and please don't take me politically, I'm using political sentences hence I'm telling you this continuously, but imagine what is the credibility of people who get elected in the name of the prime minister? Not much, but they are chief ministers of their state, but they ask for vote in the name of prime minister, तो वो खुद लीडर है ही नहीं। States like Andhra Pradesh, states like Tamil Nadu have chief ministers who are somebody's son. What is their credibility on their own? Where is the grassroots work? You don't do grassroots. I mean, Karunanidhi ji was a grassroots worker, not Stalin ji. He becomes the chief minister because he could outmaneuver his elder brother. ये तो palace politics हुआ ना. The elder brother and the younger brother both want to be the next chief minister, and the younger brother outweighs. ठीक है, राजनीति जैसी एक और पिक्चर बन जाएगी बाद में कभी. You know? But that doesn't make for good optics, and it doesn't make for good decision making and policy making. Just that. I told you this because that is how it is. And I mean, several other places, take Bihar for example, Nitish Kumar ji every 3-4 years decides something else. You compare his performance in the first 8 years when he was the chief minister, and later on in the last 9 years when he has been the chief minister, massive difference between the two time period. 2005 to 10, he had a clear agenda. I'll make roads and I will make sure infrastructure in roads is well developed. 2010 to 2015, he had a clear agenda. I will make electricity and I'll make sure Bihar has enough electricity so that people will vote for me, and I will ask for votes in the name of electricity. 2014-15 onwards, even he doesn't know what is the agenda because he doesn't know on whose side is he. आप जब पार्टी बदलते हैं तो आप कल तक जिसके साथ ऐसे फोटो खिंचवा रहे थे, अचानक आप उसको गाली देने लगते हैं ना, और फिर आपको जस्टिफाई करनी है सारी बातें कि क्यों मैं अब इनके साथ परेशान हूं, एंड ये अदर वे राउंड भी होता है। तो ये तो इसमें फिर इकोनॉमिक्स जबरदस्त सफर करती है। समझाना बस ये चाह रहा था, दैट इफ आई एम पॉलिटिकली ऑन अ फ्रेजाइल ग्राउंड, माय इकोनॉमिक्स सफर्स। अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, व्हाट हैपेंस इफ आई एम नॉट एन एक्सपर्ट, but I have the hubris, the arrogance to believe I am as good as an expert, I don't know the entire puzzle of the story. Now somebody suggests something, I begin with that, then midway I retreat, I do something else, midway I retreat, I do something else, creates for a very poor situation overall. That I don't complete the reforms, I don't do them entirely. If I don't complete the reforms, I don't do them entirely. Whatever little I did also fall flat. So that is the challenge, if you ask me, that we are looking at. सरकार ने जब शुरू किया था भारतमाला, सागरमाला एंड सो ऑन, तो सरकार ये बोले थे दैट अलोंग विद दैट वी विल मोनेटाइज असेट एंड वी विल सेल पब्लिक सेक्टर इन इंडिया, वी विल डू प्राइवेटाइजेशन एंड यूज दैट मनी to further increase our infrastructure and other things. In between, they became worried about privatizing. Now there is a shortage of fund that they will have. So this is the problem part. Always keep that in mind. सारी स्कीम एक साथ नहीं ला सकते, पर उस स्कीम से जुड़ी हुई जितनी मिनिस्ट्रीज हैं उनको एक पोर्टल पे ला सकते हैं, जैसे गति शक्ति में कर रहे हैं. नहीं, ये पूरी तरह करेक्ट नहीं है, बट ये बात अभी नहीं करते हैं, नहीं तो बहुत डाइग्रेस करना पड़ेगा मुझे. बट ये पूरी तरह करेक्ट नहीं है. प्रॉब्लम हुआ है दैट लैंड रिफॉर्म ही सिर्फ इशू नहीं है. प्रॉब्लम रहा कि हमने अपने लोगों को हेल्थ ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट नहीं दिया. प्रॉब्लम ये था. फ्यूडलिस्टिक सोसाइटी इसलिए बनी रहती है क्योंकि लोगों की सोच फ्यूडलिस्टिक रहती है. सो टिल यू थिंक फ्यूडलिस्टिक द सोसाइटी रिमेन्स फ्यूडलिस्टिक. हाँ, बहुत आसान है. 91 में कैसे घंटी बांधी, 97 तक बांधते रहे, 2003 तक बांधते रहे, तो डेमोक्रेटिक कंट्री तो थे. सॉरी, ऐसा थोड़ी वो बीच में डिक्टेटरशिप आ गई थी. बिल्कुल डेमोक्रेसी थी भाई. बोलो चोर हैं अगर लोग तो कैसे करेंगे काम, ये दिक्कत जरूर है. और वो चोर सिर्फ वो नहीं है, अगर जनता खुद भी वैसे हैं, अगर लोग ऐसे हैं जो वाईफाई के लिए वोट देंगे तब तो गड़बड़ होगी. हम पॉलिटिशियंस को क्यों दोष देते हैं, हमने भी तो वोट दिया वाईफाई के लिए. ये बात कह रहा. ऑलराइट, सॉरी. ओके, यू टेक दिस अप, देन you give a heading poverty, and you write a point in that measures of poverty. Sorry. Just one second. There is another question I see from one of your friends online, that then how to overrule politics so that national interest can be put first. You don't have to overrule politics. Who told you that? Develop the politics in a manner where national interest can be taken care of. It is not that everybody in politics is corrupt. It is not that everybody in bureaucracy is corrupt. It is not that everybody in teaching is corrupt, that everybody in any institution is corrupt. So strengthen people who are not. Strengthen the right thought process. Sometimes for our own personal gains. मैं एक सिंपल सी बात कहता हूं, अगर आप अपने पर्सनल गेन के लिए गलत चीज को मानते हो सिर्फ इसलिए कि आपको लगता है उस वक्त आपका फायदा हो रहा है, तो ये गलत है. इतनी सी बात है. ये समझ हमारे यहाँ कम है, तो गलत चीजें होती हैं हमारे यहाँ. वी बिलीव ओ इट्स माई बेनिफिट राइट नाउ, इवन इफ इट इज हैपनिंग इनकरेक्ट, आई विल एटलीस्ट बी क्वाइट अबाउट इट. आई विल नॉट से एनीथिंग. That is when you give opportunity to people from the other hue to then dominate the whole discussion. All right. Any which way you take this up, then you write measurement of poverty in India. Now, you know, I'm first giving you a write-up. This was a question that they had asked once for 10 marks about measurement of poverty in India before 1973-74. Because 1973-74 was the first time that we made an official measure of poverty in India. All right. So once they asked a 10-mark question that what were the measures of poverty in India before 1973-74. All right, so I'm giving you 150 words on that. There is nothing much to explain in it, but I'm giving it to you because it's not in your notes. So I just thought that you should have it written with yourself. You write it down then. You write, poverty was measured for the first time Poverty was measured for the first time in pre-independence India by Dadabhai Naroji, who fixed poverty line in the range of rupees 16 to rupees 35 per capita per annum considering 1867-68 as the base year. He estimated that more than 85% population of British India was in poverty. Full stop. Another measure was taken by Justice Ranade, R-A-N-A-D-E, Justice Ranade, who used data of rural consumption and urban consumption considering 1871 prices and fixing poverty line at ₹22 per capita per annum. He estimated poverty at more than 80% of total population. Change the paragraph. After independence, the initial estimate make it initial estimates were were unofficial, unofficial, full stop. The first such estimate was made by first such estimate was made by Dandekar and Rath, Dandekar, Dandekar and Rath, Rath. Dandekar and Rath, who fixed poverty line at rupees 20 per annum per capita at 1951 price. According to them, this expenditure was sufficient. According to them, this expenditure was sufficient to achieve 2215 calories per day. Per person. Full stop. They estimated poverty in 1957 to be 64% of rural population and 52% of urban population. Full stop. Another attempt in 1962 was made by 1962 was made by Professor B.S. Minhas, who fixed poverty line, MINHAS, who fixed poverty line at rupees 24 per capita per annum for urban areas and rupees 20 per capita per annum for rural areas. He estimated poverty at I missed that, आप साइड में लिख के रख लो. all his calculations were done taking 1956-57 as the base year price. All right, this expenditure was measured at 56-57's price. All right, so 1956-57 was the base year for him. He estimated poverty at 62% in rural areas and 57% in urban areas. 62% in rural areas and 57% in urban areas. So remember, sometimes the differences were simply because their definition of rural and urban used to be different. Their population samples would be different. All right? Because there were no official estimates, they were all unofficially that people were trying to estimate. In the same thing you write, in 1969, another independent estimate of rural poverty was made by Professor M.S. Ahluwalia. He took poverty line at 26 rupees per capita per annum, ₹26 per capita per annum at 1964-65 price, and estimated that 53% of rural population was in poverty. All right, so remember, if they ask you a question about poverty estimates in India, before the first official estimate, 74-75, these are the poverty estimates before the official estimates. You'll be able to put your 150 words. Begin by talking about poverty being a state when basic necessities are not available. Understand that. Always remember, the concern of policy making is always absolute poverty and not relative poverty. All right. So the concern is always absolute poverty and whether you have the absolute resource to have a basic standard of living. That is always the concern of poverty. And then you can talk about measures of poverty in India and thereafter. Now, you don't have to write anything, you just listen to me. Yes, yes. No, the base years are all different. No. If the base year is low, then the real purchasing capacity is higher, no? Base year price is low then. 16 rupees in 1870s would be approximately, I can be incorrect marginally, but will be approximately equal to something like 1600 rupees by the time you are hitting only 1931. You know, so अगर 100 साल की बात ले ले, मतलब एक तरह से समझ लो कि अगर इन्फ्लेशन को 4-5% पे मानोगे तो हर 40 साल में 10 टाइम बढ़ जाता है वैल्यू। तो उस हिसाब से सोचो तो 80 साल में 100 टाइम्स बढ़ गया वैल्यू और 100 साल में तो 150 टाइम बढ़ गया। You see that? So 16 rupees become something like 2400 rupees, you know, by the time you reach No, no, please understand. But the base price was not 1871 anymore, no. The base price was now 1951. So that is why it had all changed by 80 years. All right. तो जो तुम कह रहे हो वो हो ही रहा था actually. Yes, yes. Okay, I'm answering a question that why government didn't make an attempt to measure poverty after independence, because we felt we are short of resource. So also there was a huge belief in trickle down. It was thought that as growth will happen, growth will trickle down to people. So, and there was shortage of resource. So it was thought that, okay, let's use the resources first for one purpose, and then we'll talk about removing poverty. In fact, it was understood that there is stark poverty in India. All right, so it was taken as that. Also remember, development economics became a much touted system only after 1965, 1970. सोचो 1973 तक किसी ने human development की बात ही नहीं की थी. 1973, in one of his seminal research papers, Professor Dr. Mehboob ul Haq started talking about human development. He called it human development and our fetish with GDP. So he said that GDP growth alone doesn't mean human development. You need human development through other methods. Now this was as late as 1973 that he was talking about it, Professor Haq. And Professor Haq was writing all this in Karachi University in those days. And due to his paper, he got so much of accolade that Columbia gave him a full visiting professor rights. And then he shifted to Columbia, of course. And then he became the person who framed Human Development Index. So it was like that. So nobody talked development, if you ask me, in those days. Now see, another thing that comes in, and that I told you while teaching you development also, human system has gone through tremendous change in the last 80, 90 years, unimaginable 90 years ago. Always remember that, unimaginable. 1930s में कुछ बातें imaginable नहीं थी, केन्स के आने के बाद imaginable हुई. आप सोचिए केन्स ये क्या थ्योरी दे रहे थे, सरकार को खर्चा करना चाहिए, मतलब उसके पहले कोई सोचते ही नहीं थे कि सरकार को खर्चा करना चाहिए. And then connected to public expenditure theory, Keynes, and then the public expenditure, that before Wagner and before the classicists, nobody talked about public expenditure as a theory. So government's job was only to manage things, run a mercenary army or a regular army, win other places, and so on. So governance was very different, and that is why all these thoughts emerged very gradually. Many of them are still emerging. Always understand that. So there are too many differences. I don't know how far you can appreciate it, but sometimes close your eyes and think about what was the world 100 years back and what is the world today, and you will realize how humans are finding it difficult to adapt to the new world, because culturally things don't change as quickly as what technically or economically they do. So that is the real challenge, if you ask me, about managing us, governing us, making rules for the new system, and so on. All right, then you take this, and listen to me on this, and it is in your notes, so you don't have to write anything. We started our first measure of poverty, again using Dandekar and Rath, to measure poverty for us through the Planning Commission idea. Within 5 years, it was realized that that old method of measuring by only using how much income is needed is outdated. So a YK Alag committee was set up. This YK Alag committee was in 1979. This was under Planning Commission. And YK Alag committee was made responsible to measure poverty for India. So what does YK Alag committee do? YK Alag committee says that we will measure poverty by considering expenditure minimum needed to meet the food requirement. So they set up something like 2400 calories per day per capita for rural areas and 2100 calories per day per capita for urban areas as a measure of poverty. And Alag committee report suggested that expenditure should be found, and that expenditure should be deflated by the current inflation, and that expenditure is what you should do to meet this poverty criteria. By his estimates, 52% population in rural area and 46% population, 58% population in rural area and 46% population in urban area was below poverty line. That was the Alag Committee report. Planning Commission adopted this. Planning Commission said, okay, this is the report we adapt, this is by which we will go, and we will keep measuring poverty accordingly. Now, this went on. The happening was strange. 1989, one day Planning Commission declared that people below poverty line in India are now 21% of population. All hell broke loose that how come only 21%? There are so many people who are below poverty line. And this was 1989, an election year, so it was even more magnified, the whole process. And finally, it was found that they are still using a very outdated deflator, and the methods are not found to be correct. What had happened was India had become richer over 80s, so what looked poor in 70s was now not that bad, and people were able to afford it. All right, that is why by 1980s, whole thing had changed. In 1989, government appointed, 1990, sorry, government appointed another committee under Professor Lakdawala. There were two Parsi economists in those days who were very famous when it came to measuring poverty in India and discussing poverty. Professor Lakdawala and Professor Dantwala. ये दोनों, हाँ, मैं भी बड़ा enjoy करता था कि छोटा था इनके नाम पढ़ता था लकड़ावाला दांतवाला, फिर बाद में पता चला अच्छा पारसीज हैं तो ऐसा नाम है. But these were two wonderful Parsi economists who would actually do a lot of work on poverty, giving us a lot of good results. So Professor Lakdawala was made the chairman of a committee. The committee gave its report in 1994 and developed a new method to measure poverty. So committee for the first time suggested that poverty should be measured with respect to calories and with respect to other necessities like cloth, shelter, etc. And that line should be measured. Committee's report was finalized. They presented their report. They found India's poverty at around 39% in rural areas in 1994 and around, 42% in rural areas and 37% in urban areas. This was what they found in 1994. Again it went on. In 2004, again it was an election year. The government declared that poverty in India has come to 21%. Again people got very upset. How come poverty can be so low? People are so poor around us. The government formed another committee under Professor Tendulkar. It was called Tendulkar Committee. All right. So Tendulkar Committee report was submitted in 2009 and got implemented from 2009. Professor Tendulkar did a much more methodical study. He changed the recall period. He said that earlier we used to use only a 365 days recall period. What have you consumed in the last 365 days? He converted it into a mixed recall period. What have you consumed in the last 365 days? What have you consumed in the last 30 days? And what have you consumed in the last 7 days? All of these would be measured, or data would be taken, expenditure will be measured to check what kind of poverty life you are living and what kind of expenditure you are making. Professor Tendulkar also for the first time suggested that education and healthcare expenditure should be added, because if you deprive people of education and healthcare, you are keeping them in poverty. So in his poverty line, he included calories, he included education, healthcare, clothes, shelter, all of these. Considering all that, he found rupees 449 rupees per capita per annum and rupees 546 per capita per annum as rural and urban poverty respectively in India, with base year price 2004-05. Is it at 2004-05? 449 per capita per annum and 546 per capita per annum is the poverty line. All right, he found poverty at around 37% in urban areas, rural areas, and 29% in urban areas. Again comes 2010, government publishes the data and says people in poverty in urban areas are 24%, and in rural area is 24%, urban area is 15%. Again people got upset, and by then mainstream media had come into India. So all strange debates were happening. I'll tell you, you can enjoy the fun next time it happens. So yeah, I mean, it tells you how illiterate people, when they have mics in their hand, how they would do. By illiterate, I don't mean no degree, I mean illiterate about economics. So strange things like going to a daily wage laborer and asking them, आप कितना खर्चा करते हैं? क्योंकि तेंदुलकर कमेटी के हिसाब से पॉवर्टी लाइन आ रहा था 32 rupees per capita per day in India. The Tendulkar committee was saying, let's do away with urban and rural system gradually. Let's make it as a single India system. Let's do deflation on the basis of state level inflation. So that meant every state, whatever inflation you calculate, your per capita expenditure should be measured in that way. But these were technicalities, you know, who would bother? This became the norm. और अभी जो हमारे सरकार है वो उस वक्त ऑपोजिशन में थे, तो जो ऑपोजिशन में होते हैं उनको लगता है अभी मुझे नाटक करने का हक है। तो शुरू हो गया 32 रुपीज पर कैपिटा पर डे में मनमोहन सिंह जी रह सकते हैं क्या, मोन्टेक सिंह जी रह सकते हैं क्या, कौन आदमी अमीर हो जाता है 32 रुपए में। ये पहली बेवकूफाना हरकत है। यू नो, दिस इज इडियोटिक। Poverty line is the line at which you survive. It is not a line at which you are in comfort. So saying that if you are above 32 you are rich is ridiculous. It is just saying that if you are above 32 you survive. It's not that you are rich, you know. And then I'll give you one more calculation. 32 rupees per capita per day makes it 960 rupees per capita per month. And for a family of 5, it makes it 4,500 for a family per month. 2009 India, good enough to survive at 2004-5 prices. You know, this is much better than survival. There are many families which survive at lesser than this. This was fixed as the poverty line. And the unfortunate part was that Dr. Tendulkar was no more. Unfortunately, he passed away 2009. So he was no more to defend his points, you know, there. And all sorts of things were said. कैसे रहेंगे इतने में? अब मैं बताया, माइक लेके जो इलिटरेट घूमते थे वो क्या करते थे? कोई डेली वेज लेबरर के पास चले गए। आप कितना पैसा खर्च करते हैं? सॉरी, डेली वो जो ठेले पे बेचते हैं, आप कितने का खाना बेचते हो? वो भी सोच रहा था मैं टीवी पे आ रहा हूँ, मैं 15 रुपीज का बेचता हूँ। फिर वो अचानक घूमते थे, देखिए, even these people from where daily wage laborers buy, these are selling it at 15 rupees per day, one time. That means 30 rupees you need for 2-time food, and the committee says it is 32 rupees. What a ridiculous thing. What a ridiculous thing they were doing. People who are poor in this city also, take even Delhi, don't buy their food to eat, they cook it. आपके घर के आसपास कोई कंस्ट्रक्शन हो रहा होगा, अब वहां पे चौकीदार रखते हैं लोग, वो चौकीदार ठेले से खरीद के नहीं खाता, उसका एक छोटा सा चूल्हा बना होता है, उस पर पका के खा रहा होता है। तो ये जो ठेले से वाले से पूछ के बोलना कि पॉवर्टी लाइन 30 रुपीज, इस आदमी को मुंडी पकड़ के लट्टू की तरह घुमाना चाहिए कि अगर इकोनॉमिक्स का ई नहीं जानते हो तो कम से कम मुंह बंद करके अपनी बेवकूफी बताओ तो मत दुनिया को। जग जाहिर कर रहे हैं और बोल क्या रहे हैं, इसीलिए कहा जाता है कि बड़े इकोनॉमिस्ट को नहीं देना चाहिए, उन्हें पता भी नहीं होता देश की असली हालत क्या है। Fellow doesn't even know Dr. Tendulkar. If you feel some angst in my voice, it was because of my affection for Dr. Tendulkar. People like us had grown up with him, had seen him working. I mean, for us, sir was sir. And these guys who would not know E of economics are saying economists like him should not be given the job. I mean, dude, you don't even know what you are talking. You have no idea, no clue. कि आप किन के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं? प्रोफेसर तेंदुलकर had a Harvard degree in development economics, PhD, 1965, and then chose to come and teach in India. Created people like us, of course, so blame it on him. You know, but he did that, so he had a seminal contribution. जानते भी नहीं कि तेंदुलकर जी सर हैं कौन, अपना बोले लेकिन कोई बात। तो ये ड्रामा मच गया फिर हमारे यहाँ। तो सरकार अपना घबराते हैं ड्रामा से, सारी सरकारें घबराती हैं। तो सरकार ने क्या किया, हमारे जैसे ये जो करंट गवर्नमेंट है ना, इनके गो टू मैन है एनके सिंह, और करंट गवर्नमेंट हर चीज के उनको हेड बना देते हैं एनके सिंह को। ऐसे ही हमारी जो पिछली सरकार थी, उनके गो टू मैन थे सी रंगराजन। एनीथिंग हैपेंस देयर विल बी अ रंगराजन कमिटी। सो सिमिलरली 2012 we had a Rangarajan committee for poverty, and Rangarajan sir, you know, he's a street smart person. Unlike Tendulkar sir was a pure academician, no street smartness and all, very to the point and very blunt. And he would be as he would be. But Rangarajan sir is a very street smart person. He knew that, okay, these are days of media. Now create a report which looks fancy, but these guys don't understand, but they can't accept they don't understand, they will not debate it at all. You know? He created a report like that. I'll tell you what report he creates. It's all in your notes, but I'll tell you what report he creates. He says not only calorie requirement per capita per day, but also how much fat requirement, how much protein requirement. He also says we will also measure it at 2011-12 prices through two-step classification so that 11-12 can be converted into 13-14 and 14. So statistics के चीजें डाल दिए, complex statistics, complex sampling. He did all that and published a very voluminous and detailed report of approximately 800 pages in public domain. And now you know what he does. This was not all. I'll tell you why I called him street smart. अब इसके बाद जैसे ही कोई उनको सवाल पूछते थे ना, your poverty line has been at 30, and what poverty line does he choose? That's the most interesting thing. The poverty line he chooses is 4,700 rupees for a family of 5 in rural areas and 7,100 rupees for a family of 5 in urban, per month of course, per month, in urban areas, deflated at 2011-12 prices, which added up to same number. It was the same number he was coming down to. But he created all this, and now whenever somebody will ask him, your poverty line is 4,700 rupees for a family of 5 in rural areas, do you think it will be sufficient? He would immediately begin, no, if you will check my report properly, on page 264 I have given the clarification that it is not only 4,700 rupees, it also includes the ration delivery part, and it also includes the amount fellow will need to send the child to school. कोई explanation दिए, अब आप माइक पकड़ के सुन रहे हैं, समझ कुछ आ नहीं रहा, बोलेंगे कैसे कि मैं नहीं समझ रहा हूं. Thank you, sir. That is why Professor Rangarajan was a street smart person. He said, take it. Let's see how much you can target me. People in opposition, equally worse, didn't get at all. क्या हो रहा है पता ही नहीं. अब करें क्या? तो हुआ कि ठीक है भाई, जब क्या हो रहा है पता नहीं है, चीजें चल रही हैं ऐसे, तो सब लोगों ने मान लिया इसे. 2014, when the government changed, interestingly, Dr. Rangarajan suggested that we can continue with Tendulkar Committee of Measuring Poverty because Tendulkar Committee gives a more simplified picture, so it will be easier to measure poverty in India. So official measure of poverty in India continued with Tendulkar Committee report. But by then, government had changed, all things had become more stabilized. Nobody bothered checking which committee is used, what is being used, all stable. और जो 2011 का आपको माइक की कहानी सुना रहा हूं, उसमें और चमत्कारी लोग थे जो कांग्रेस पार्टी में भी थे. एक हमारे फिल्म स्टार हैं राज बब्बर जी, ये आए, इन्होंने पब्लिक में स्टेटमेंट दिया, 32 रुपए तो बहुत हैं, मैं तो 5 रुपए पर डे पे रहता हूं. तो प्रॉपर जोक चल रहा था. It was a nice joke going across all the period, in fact. So, and I had my share of enjoyment. I still see sometimes Hindi news channels. You need to entertain yourself. तो मैं अभी भी कभी कभी देख लेता हूँ, कभी आज तक देख लेता हूँ, कभी एबीपी न्यूज़ देख लेता हूँ, तो अच्छा एंटरटेनमेंट मिल जाता है ना. कैसे आपको लगता है अच्छा न्यूज़ एंकर के रूप में कैसे नाटक किया जा सकता है. बाद में धीरे धीरे इंग्लिश न्यूज़ चैनल्स भी आ गए, अर्नब गोस्वामी जी आ गए, तो ज़रूरत ही खत्म कर दी उन्होंने. You can easily see him. But jokes apart, what I'm only trying to tell you is, these are technical issues. When they are brought in public domain, they don't give good results up there. That is the whole point. These are technical issues. Brought in public domain, you can't find a solution. Now, from your exam's point of view, in your notes, I have given you the difference between Tendulkar Committee and Rangarajan Committee. I've given you the points on Tendulkar Committee and Rangarajan Committee. From your exam's point of view, that is the most important thing. All right, the difference between Tendulkar Committee report and Rangarajan Committee report. All right, just read through that. That will be the most important thing. और points बना लेना छोटे छोटे करके और रट लेना इनको. All right, you make small points and mug them up because there is nothing much I can explain to you there, but these two committees would be relevant. Now you come to one more thing. You give a heading now. You write reasons of poverty in India. Reasons for poverty in India. And you write in that, one more interesting thing. The last time we measured poverty in India officially was 2019-20. After that, there is no official measure of poverty in India because 2018-19. Because in 2018-19, the government dismissed the consumption survey data of NSSO. They said that we don't accept this data, it is flawed, and the methodology is flawed. Fair enough, that's understandable, that methodology is flawed. But last 5 years, we have not been able to come up with an alternative. So if somebody asks us today how much is poverty in India, only God and country knows. You know, we don't have any basic idea, any proper knowledge about how much is poverty in India at the moment. You know, हमारे देश में बहुत चीजें खो जाती हैं, पॉवर्टी खो जाती है, लीडर्स मास्टर्स कर लेते हैं, उनकी डिग्री खो जाती है, you know, तो भयानक रूप से चीजें खोती हैं हमारे देश में, पता ही नहीं चलता कहाँ चली गई, फिर लोग कहते हैं कहीं तो होंगी, और उसके बाद कहते हैं अरे पढ़ने लिखने से ज्यादा फायदा नहीं है, असली चीज तो ग्राउंड पे मिलती है। और मैं कल भी आपसे कह रहा था, फिर कहता हूँ, आधे लोग चूंकि पढ़े लिखे होते नहीं तो उनको ये बात बड़ी अच्छी लगती है सुनने में, क्योंकि पढ़ना लिखना एक डिफिकल्ट जॉब हो जाता है, तो ऑन द ग्राउंड थिंग्स लुक, तो फिर लगता है हाँ मैं उतना भी वर्थलेस नहीं हूँ जैसा लग रहा था मेरे में कुछ तो कैलिबर है ज्यादा। तो ये बोलना हमेशा बड़ा आसान है, उनको क्या पता होगा। अब देखना ये हमारे यहाँ का पेट डायलॉग्स हैं, आप डॉक्टर को दिखा लो, डॉक्टर क्या बताएगा, मैं तुम्हें दवाई बताता हूँ बेफालतू बेचारे ने एमबीबीएस किया, उसको चाहिए ही नहीं था वो सब करना। सो वी आर पीपल लाइक दैट, वी डोंट हैव आवर ओन अंडरस्टैंडिंग, वी फील ओ एजुकेशन डजंट गिव यू much of a help. And that is why education is more important, that if it's only when you educate people, they understand the idea of expertise. That when people know their things, if they're experts in it, they would understand the nuances much better compared to when they don't. You know? So always keep that in mind, that this lost debate, this lost data set in India is creating issues now. 6 साल से poverty का data नहीं मिला, 5 साल से, 3 साल हो गए, अभी तक सेंसस की तैयारी नहीं हो रही है, we have not had our census data as yet, you know, and if we don't have data, how do we make policies? We can't make policies based on what an economic survey feels like, no? The policy has to be much more detailed. So that is the challenge, if you ask me, India is facing today. All right. कैशलेस की प्रैक्टिस में हाँ डाटालेस तो होगा ही धीरे धीरे, डाटा आपको एक्सपोज करता है ना, ये बहुत बड़ी दिक्कत है कि जब आप कोई बात इंट्यूटिवली लोगों को फील कराना चाहते हैं और अगर डेटा देख लिया जाए, वो तो एक्सपोज करेगा। जब लड़वाते हैं लोगों को धर्म के नाम पर, डेटा कोई नहीं देता ना उसमें, वो लोग ऐसा कह रहे थे, उनके मन में ऐसी बात है, बस हो गया, वहां पे डेटा के साथ बातचीत हो तो बात थोड़ी बेहतर होगी। एनीवेज लेट्स सी दिस, जैसे राहुल गांधी जी बोलते हैं ना ये सरकार अदानी अंबानी की है, और फिर भी राजस्थान में और छत्तीसगढ़ में उनके कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स कैंसिल नहीं करते, उन्हीं की पार्टी की सरकार है, बोलते हैं केंद्र सरकार अदानी अंबानी की है। तो ये समझना हमेशा, जब वो कॉन्ट्रडिक्शंस नजर आ जाते हैं सामने सीधा, जब लोग सिर्फ पॉलिटिक्स के लिए बात करते हैं। So this is the poverty line at the moment, 7,000 rupees and 4,700 rupees, but it is revised with the baseline. That gets revised. So when you measure it, it will be revised with the baseline through the consumption expenditure data. I said something, I don't know whether you noticed it or not, but from prelims point of view, I'm preparing you. The data is measured in India, or poverty is measured in India through expenditure survey and not income survey. All right? Poverty is measured in India through consumption expenditure survey, not by income survey. Please keep that also in mind. All right? So it's not that we check how many people are earning 7,100 rupees. We are checking how many people are spending 7,100 rupees. How many people are spending 4,700 rupees as a family of 5. All right? So it is expenditure survey and not income survey. Please keep that in your mind. Now, when we talk about reasons for poverty in India, you write within that A, reasons for rural poverty, reasons for rural poverty, and remember one more thing before I go further. So by the last count that we have 17% population in urban area and 26% population in rural area, officially estimated as below poverty line. All right, 26% rural, 17% urban, and 23% total. This is the estimated poverty line of India as measured with numbers in 2019-20. After that, we have not had an official measure as yet. That is why you will have all sorts of commentaries. Recently, by recently I mean 2 months back, there was this whole debate between Ms. Rohini Somanathan and Surjit Bhalla on how much is poverty in India and Indian Express, where people like Professor Bhalla were claiming that poverty in India now is less than 3%. You know, so fair enough. See, the point is it depends on what is your poverty line. If you choose a poverty line, for example, World Bank says that $2.15 per capita per day is severe poverty. If you are above that, you are above severe poverty. Now, if you take, एक second रुक जाना. If you take purchasing power parity value, this comes out to be around 50 rupees per capita per day, which comes out to be around 1500 rupees per capita per month. Obviously, the number of people earning more than that becomes much more in India now. All right, that is the aspect. So that is why those numbers look smaller. It depends on what numbers you are choosing, which will decide what poverty. बोलो बोलो. कौन सा? ये 18-19 का डेटा है, 19-20 की पब्लिकेशन है. एक साल पहले के डेटा से पब्लिश करोगे ना इस साल, जो भी इस साल हुआ वो पिछले साल के डेटा से पता चलेगा ना. Yes, it is head count ratio. All right, this is poverty head count ratio. Head count ratio is number of people below poverty line. Number of people below poverty line as a ratio of total population. That is head count ratio. So this is HCR. Head count ratio, number of people below poverty line upon total population. And all these numbers are with head count ratio. Number of people below poverty line upon total population. All right. Now for rural poverty, you write 1, all Tendulkar committee methods. Because there is no hardly any difference. Base price is 11-12. You write, first, fragmented land holdings. Fragmented land holdings which make agricultural productivity, fragmented land holdings which make agricultural productivity very low. Second, lack of basic civic amenities. Lack of basic civic amenities like clean water, sanitation, secondary education, healthcare support, etc., increases cost of living. Then you write third, poor technological coefficient, poor technological coefficient in agriculture which reduces its productivity. And fourth, less development of alternative income sources restricts opportunities especially in years of drought. I hope you got these points. You write below that then, reasons for poverty in urban areas. And you write in that, poor quality of employment, which is reflected in irregular employment, comma, lack of social security, comma, dominance of casual labor, etc. And you write, it reduces consistent income opportunities in the same point. It reduces consistent income opportunities and there is no regular social security support. Then you write next, underdeveloped literacy and lack of skill development which makes many people unemployable and forces them in poverty. In fact, this is seen even more in tier 2, tier 3 cities of India. It is less seen in metropolitans, people get some job or the other, but as you go into smaller cities of India, this problem of lack of employability, getting good opportunities becomes very huge. Third, you write, lack of assets with majority of people makes them heavily dependent on work and wage labor for sustaining their life. I'll tell you, as basic an asset as housing. So if you don't have a house, you are dependent on rent. If you don't have any savings, you don't have an interest you can earn. People who have unearned source of income can afford going unwell, will still have some source of income, which will support them over a period. But those who don't have that basic source of income will keep struggling due to that lack of source of income. So that becomes the challenge for several when it comes to urban poverty. That assets are missing, only labor is the source of income, and then the lack of asset like housing means rental expenditure, etc., puts further pressure on them. Next, then, you write, lack of quality nutrition and living facilities comma majority of urban poors live in slum where they are deprived of basic hygiene and other living requirements. All right, so if they ask you reasons for poverty in India, these are the 8 points you can write, and you can use them to analyze urban poverty and rural poverty. Then you write below that, steps taken by government to remove poverty in India. Steps taken by government to remove poverty in India. Now again, in your notes, I have given you many steps that have been taken in the earlier phases, like IRDP or TRISEM or Jawahar Rozgar Yojana or Pradhan Mantri, Gramin Swarozgar Yojana. So there are several schemes that were run. What I'm making you write in the class is mainly the recent ones and the bigger ones along with that. So in case there is a question of 150 words, these 6-7 points that I'm making you write now, you should use that first. All right, and then you can talk about the other schemes which are now peripheral. But most of the schemes that we talk about are those which we are implementing now. So you write the first one, MNREGA, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Now it is given in your notes that I have given you, but it has the details of how the act functions. I am doing an analysis of the act. All right, आपके notes में ये है कि पैसे कैसे मिलते हैं, किनको मिलेंगे, कितना मिलेगा, ये details वहाँ पे हैं. बात यहाँ मैं कर रहा हूँ कि act के benefits, challenges, वो क्या observe किए गए हैं. All right, किस objective से act लाया गया था, ये बातें करेंगे. Again, most chances are that in your paper they will ask you to analyze the act. They will not be asking you to to simply explain the act. All right. So you write in that, remember one thing, the act was passed in 2005, but notified from 2006. So when you will search on Google, etc., they will write MNREGA 2006. All right, but it was passed in 2005, notified from 2006. Initially, it was introduced as a pilot project over 100 districts of India. That was the initiation, that it was introduced as a pilot project over 100 districts of India. From 2008, it was spread all over India. All right, so initially it was a pilot project over 100 districts of India. From 2008, it was spread all over India. Then you write the core objectives of Manrega are first, प्रोवाइड, अच्छा एक बात और ध्यान रखना, ये जो कोर ऑब्जेक्टिव्स ऑफ मनरेगा हैं ये बदले गए थे 2014 में नए सरकार के आने के बाद, तो इसको कभी कभी मनरेगा 2.0 भी कहते हैं. What I'm trying to explain to you is that if somebody says, oh look, the government criticized Manrega in the past, I mean the Prime Minister, and now he's still working with Manrega only, that criticism is not actually correct. He criticized the old Manrega, and there is a Manrega 2.0 in which changes have been brought about. All right, so that criticism should not be taken as that. All right, that it is not correct criticism. The point is that. You write in that, provide, this is the first objective, to provide guaranteed employment on demand to every household and creating productive asset. Now this was something added later, that create productive asset, and creating productive assets of prescribed quality and durability. Second, you write, to improve minimum wage and strengthen the livelihood of rural poor. Then you write, third, to ensure social inclusion by giving special provisions for women in a bracket you write 33% of total jobs and scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Again in a bracket you write minimum 22% of total jobs. Minimum 22% of total jobs. And then one more objective. Practices decentralized administration practices decentralized administration as it is implemented through Panchayati Raj institutions. You can write PRI. Then you write below that benefits of Manrega. And you write A, it acted as a social security support. Sorry. It acted as a social security support which was observed during COVID time period. In fact, during COVID time period, it was seen that the demand for Manrega jobs went up by more than 25% year on year. And it could give support to people. In fact, the budget of Manrega before COVID was around 60,000 crore. And during the COVID year, or in the COVID year, 2021, the budget was 1,06,000 crore. So there was an increase of almost 75% in the budget within 1 year. Even the year after COVID, budget was 98,000 crore. And last year also, the budget was 89,000 crore. I'm suggesting all the revised estimates. All right, all the numbers that I'm speaking are revised estimates in the budget. So 2021, it was 1,06,000 crore. 21-22, it was 98,000 crore. And 22-23, it was 89,000 crore. So that has been the Manrega expenditure, suggesting the social security it could provide with the job loss we saw in the urban areas. Then you write second, more than 20% beneficiaries are SC, more than 17% 17% are ST, and 56% are women, which shows proper coverage of vulnerable sections. Next, then you write, it has improved minimum wage by giving more choice to workers, in rural areas, giving more choice to workers in rural areas. Then you write next, yes, if Manrega promises you at least 200 rupees per day, say for a second, then nobody else employs you at lesser than this. Yes, but why will I work if I have a Manrega opportunity? Manrega is demand driven. So if I ask a job, you can't refuse. Delayed payments are a reality in urban India, leave alone rural. I'm not justifying it, but just telling you that for the worker that cannot be a deterrent factor. All right, that delayed payments are not a deterrent factor. अर्बन इंडिया में कभी कभी तो 6 महीने 8 महीने साल भर के बाद पैसे मिलते हैं. At times in the informal sector for skilled workers, you know, my previous institution took 9 months to clear my dues, and they ran into some number, you know. So it took them 9 months to clear my dues. They did, you know. मतलब क्या सोच है. ड्यूज ज्यादा रहा होगा सर. टाइम लगता है. But just telling you that informal markets, you learn to live with that. No, these are all informal sectors. We are on contract with each other, but there is no law that governs us until the new labor law doesn't come into picture. I enter into a contract, only then I sign a contract, only then I do business with people. But my point is that it's not necessary for everybody to sign a contract. All right. I take and give receipts also, you know, on a personal note. Like I do that. All right, let's see this. Then you write payment of wages. Payment of wages is through DBT. Payment of wages, DBT is direct benefit transfer, is through DBT, which also promotes financial inclusion. You know, financial inclusion because it makes the Jan Dhan accounts more used, more viable, and therefore people learn how to use those bank accounts. All right, so the DBT plus now theoretically it's true that it removes corruption, but practically the truth is it reduces corruption. All right, it doesn't remove corruption, but reduces it. Reduces it because now there is a new trend seen in rural areas. The workers are told, you don't come to work, give us your Aadhaar number and bank linkages, and we will transfer money into your account, and you will get a part of it, and we will take a part of it. Now that means the workers for whom it is meant are getting it, but not entirely. But then in return, the workers are not working also. It's just that their name is there. And the workers are going to the cities and working over there at times. So these kind of corruption things are still going on. But yes, theoretically speaking, if you have a direct benefit transfer, you don't expect any kind of corruption immediately. Then you write one more point. Sustainable asset creation. Sustainable asset creation like rural roads, panchayat buildings, plantation drives, etc. have all been brought under Manrega. Have all been brought under Manrega. Now these are the benefits that Manrega creates. You write challenges in the scheme. Challenges in the scheme. And you write the first one. World Bank had recommended World Bank had recommended 1.7% of GDP as minimum needed for Manrega to make a social impact, minimum needed for Manrega to make a social impact but the provisioning has never been above 0.5% of GDP. Provisioning has never been above 0.5% of GDP. And you know, that is the trouble part. We are spread too thin. Now, again, currently in the last 4 or 5 years, there has been rationalization. There used to be more than 1,000 centrally sponsored schemes. Government is trying to reduce them, has brought them below 600 now. There's still too many. And then Manrega, PM Kisan, all that comes in. So nowhere are we able to put good enough money. You understand that everywhere some money is being put. And that doesn't serve the things then. Second, you write, fake job cards have been created. Fake job cards have been created, resulting in siphoning out of funds. Siphoning out of funds. Third, you write, this fake job card is a big problem in Manrega even now, even though government is linking it to Aadhaar now and linking it to even facial recognition, I mean, your iris recognition and all, but it's not helping till now. There are fake cards still created. And third, you write, delays in payment of wages. Remember, the Act has said that wage should be paid within 15 days of the work completion. All right, within 15 days. But we have had instances when it has not been done for over 6 months. And that delay is for various reasons. Bureaucratic delay is one. Timely payment not reaching the beneficiary is another. Another problem is created by central government. They under provision for Manrega. Like I'll give you an example. In 2021-22, the provisioning for Manrega was 73,000 crore. They finally ended up spending 98,000 crore. And then the government says, as and when the demand arises, we fulfill it. But the problem is, they fulfill it as and when the demand arises, and that means the time it takes for the money to reach the beneficiary gets delayed by as much time period. You know, so this is where if we know, like I said this in the budget discussion also, I'm sure you would have heard me, that last year we spent 89,000 crore on Manrega. Even if we expect that things will come down this year and there is a pandemic which is receding, there was no harm looking at the trends of last 3-4 years to at least keep 80,000 crore rupees for Manrega. I'll tell you why I say that. We budgeted 73,000 crore, or take it before that, we budgeted 65,000 crore, spent 1,06,000 crore. Okay, let's say COVID was sudden. Then we budgeted 73,000 crore, spent 98,000 crore. Last year we budgeted 65,000 crore and spent 89,000 crore. Now when we see that there is consistently a 25,000 crore gap between what I am budgeting and what is being actually asked for, what I can do is, if I think that my budget should be 60,000 crore, I should put it at around 85,000 crore. By chance, by the middle of the year, if I see that the demand is not as much, I will always know then that no supplementary grant will be needed. But going for a supplementary grant in the middle of the year is much more difficult and more time consuming. All right. You take the next one then. I'll just complete this and you can ask me. You write, in many places, next point, yeah. In many places, quality of asset constructed quality of asset constructed is still questionable. You know, we are still in many places doing the work of digging the pit and filling the pit. You know, so that is something we need to grow upon. All right, that we can't keep doing it. तो अभी भी questionable है कि अपना गड्ढा खोदा गड्ढा भरा यही काम रहा मनरेगा में. Plant लाए लगाए, then the plant becomes a weed next year. That weed उखाड़े फिर plant लगाए. So this is something we can grow upon. We can do better if we can develop actual quality assets. One big challenge again here is budget. The wage can be given according to the budget for the program that you are creating. And we will give it as a way forward. Therefore, it is better to merge Manrega or at least attach Manrega to other government schemes. You know, like say other government schemes with respect to social work, development programs, attach it together. And that will create opportunities for Manrega workers and will create productive assets also. You had a question. So it is under the Ministry of Rural Welfare. Yes, that is a problem, that it is still not, the Panchayati Raj institutions still don't have the freedom to spend the money as they would like. Always the permission is sought from state government. So that is a problem, no doubt. Hundred days, yes. Yes, there was a rule that they have to give wage equal to those work days that they are unable to provide. So what the governments do at state level is that they don't refuse the work. It is just that they will tell you we are giving it to you and then they won't give it to you also. No, no, no. The rule is still 100 days. The average number of days sought by workers in which they work has been reduced because COVID pandemic is gone now, no? So less people are seeking work in Manrega. It is not that people are seeking and they are not getting. It is that the number of people the number of days work sought has gone down because many people are again coming back to the urban areas. All right, that is the idea. All right, you write one more point. Lack of freedom to Panchayati Raj institutions, lack of freedom to Panchayati Raj institutions as funding is controlled by Rural Development Department, Rural Development Department in state government. And then you write way forward. And first point in that, leakages should be minimized. Leakages should be minimized through social auditing, and technological mapping. You know, technological mapping is Aadhaar matching, Jam Trinity. Social auditing is send third-party auditors to the village, check with people how many of them actually got benefited, and get a report of that. And if people did not get benefited, then hold accountability. That those who have been supported, why they are not yet being benefited. All right. Swamitva is for land identification. All right, that is for that. All right. Second point you write, decentralized governance decentralized governance by providing adequate resources, comma, power and responsibility to sanction work, entirely on gram panchayats. And then another one you write, it should be used for asset building, by merging Manrega with other government schemes, like Swachh Bharat Yojana, Green India Initiative, etc. All right, if they ask you a question, big, small, whatever, on Manrega, again I'm discussing these in a little bit detail because these are topics that UPSC has commonly picked up. You should have a basic understanding here. Now, having trained you like this, whenever you pick up things like Yojana, or whenever you pick up things like Kurukshetra, look for articles related to these schemes, articles related to changes here, or PIB or Manrega, you can randomly type and see, okay, what new change has been brought about, and keep incorporating them in your answers. That will make your things more robust. All right, that has to be the approach for future. That, okay, how do we make our answers better? How do we update? This is the way you update. All right. Now you write second. Yes, let me show you a question. 100 days job guarantee. Yeah. Yes, but no, the minimum wage is 200 rupees. That ways. But remember, it will be 200 into 100 into 2. That weighs 400. 2 adults in the family. But Manrega promises to at least 1 adult in each family. All right. But yes, 20,000 rupees. But then divided by per capita, no? It is 1 person earning it. And 1 person having 6 kids becomes a problem, no? All right. Okay. Let's see this. Then, the second one which you need to know is public distribution system. Does somebody carry the notes that I had given you? You do? Thank you. In your notes, in the topic on agriculture, you don't need to take them out immediately if you don't have it. In any case, you can't take them out. But in the topic on agriculture, the PDS part you will find there. Sorry. In the section on agriculture, just letting you know, जो agriculture का section है, वहाँ पे आपको PDS मिलेगा on page 19. Objectives of PDS and state intervention, achievement of Food Corporation of India, targeted PDS, and then the review of PDS. All right? How many of you will have the notes today? Perfect, then we can discuss it today. I thought that if you don't have the notes today, then I had to take it tomorrow and take you to the next topic. But if you have the notes today, we can go into that. People who are listening to me online can always go into section on agriculture, page 19. All right. Understand this. Now, asset constructed questionable means that their quality was not good. All poverty criteria checked by expenditure only. 4,700 rupees Vigneshwaran, the same Rangarajan committee report works. All right. ऑल राइट, आपके मित्र पूरे एक्टिव थे थोड़ी देर पहले, 3-4 लोगों ने पूछा है आपका ड्यू कितना था? ज्यादा नहीं था, 1.5-2 रुपए थे बस. ऑल राइट, अरे रुक जाओ, पढ़ लो. ऑल राइट, यू टेक दिस. बट यू नो आई लव इट व्हेन यू कंजेक्चर. ओके, लेट्स सी दिस. अरे पढ़ लो तो. बता ही दीजिए. देखो कितना सवाल उठता है किसका. सर बताएंगे तो पैसा डबल हो जाएगा, लेकिन किसका? जिसने सर को उठा लिया. ऑल राइट, देखो मैं पैसे वैसे की बात जो मैं कमाता हूं ज्यादा नहीं करूंगा. मेरा गांव बिहार में है. लालू जी फिर पावर में है. जब लालू जी पावर में आते हैं, किडनैपिंग बिकम्स अ डिसेंट बिजनेस इन द स्टेट फ्रॉम विच आई बिलोंग. ऑल राइट, वो तो अब उम्र मेरी अच्छी हो गई है तो मुझे वो सब चिंता नहीं रहती. बट हमारे यहाँ छोटी उम्र के बच्चों का जाना तो और थोड़ा खतरनाक होता है. पकड़ जाके देखिएगा आप लोग, कभी पकड़ेंगे आपको, फिर छोड़ देंगे तुम लोगों को, चिंता मत करो. वही तो कह रहा हूं, तो पकड़ेंगे, फिर तुम्हें पकड़ेंगे, तुम्हें देखेंगे कि नहीं, इससे नहीं. All right, let's see this. You take this up now. In public distribution system, our talk begins here. That is the state intervention in food grains and FCI. अब उसके नीचे देखना. FCI has the following achievements to its credit. But before I take you into that, understand this. Till 1965, we had nothing called PDS and nothing called FCI. By 1965, government had developed this whole system, saying that we should have a food corporation of India, and there will be a public distribution system through which we will redistribute food among people at a cheaper rate. It was not said free in those days. It was also not a fixed price. I'm sure you all will recall the concept of issue price. So it was said that every year we will declare an issue price. Whatever is that issue price, we will sell at that price to the people. The idea was whichever year food prices went very high, again that is the key, whichever year food prices went very high, that year we will release it from the food grains. And whichever year food prices were very low, we would rather buy a little more from the farmers to support them via MSP and keep it in store in the godowns. That was the whole idea of PDS system in India. जिस साल महंगाई ज्यादा फूड प्राइस में, उस साल रिलीज करेंगे ज्यादा, और जिस साल फूड प्राइसेस नीचे रहेंगे उस साल ज्यादा खरीद के रख लेंगे अपने पास ताकि महंगे वाले साल में रिलीज कर सके. Alright, that was the mechanism that was planned originally. FCI was planned for that. Now, in the achievement of FCI, first is that level of procurement has increased considerably. अब वहाँ considerably के साथ लिख लो, more than 11 times between 1965, more than 11 times between 1965 and 2020. Import dependence has gone. That's of course a case. We are food secured with FCI buying it. Then another is that FCI purchase becomes a nature of price support. The farmers get protected. Becomes a method of price support. All right, so the mechanism which I was telling you helps the consumers, helps the producers, solves for food security. All right, that is how, and you just do a mind mapping like that, and in the exam you won't have to remember much. You'll just start writing across in that manner. Another is that we talk about is that inflationary pressures can be controlled because FCI can release food grains at the right time. All right, and then another is that the scientific storage capacity in the country is built up because we never know what time we will have a shortage. So there is a technique by which we have built it up. In fact, the technique is quite clear. Like if you recall, a few days back I was telling you that CSCP recommended is 15 million tons in January and so on. So 1st January, 1st April, 1st July and 1st September. इन सभी के लिए टाइप्स रिकमेंडेड है. ऑल राइट, आप ध्यान से सुनना फिर मेरी बात. बीच में आपने धमाका किया. On 1st January, all right, 1st January, then again 3 months later on 1st April, all right, and then 1st July, and then 1st October, all right, ऐसे decide होता है. 1st January, 1st April, 1st July, 1st October, all right, that is how it is decided. Then again 1st January, of course, all right. So 1st January, 1st July, 1st January, 1st April, 1st July and 1st October. इन सभी के नंबर्स फिक्स्ड हैं इंडिया में कि इतना मिनिमम वीट, इतना मैक्सिमम वीट और इतना मैक्सिमम राइस होना चाहिए. सरकार के लिए सजेस्टेड है, इससे ज़्यादा रखने की ज़रूरत नहीं, इतना रखोगे ज़रूर फॉर NFS. नेशनल फूड सिक्योरिटी एक्ट जब आया तो उसे और स्पेसिफाई कर दिया गया. ऑल राइट, नाउ 1997 द गवर्नमेंट इंट्रोड्यूस्ड टारगेटेड पब्लिक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सिस्टम. The idea was dual pricing. It's all in your notes. I'm just speaking from there. The idea was targeting better and dual pricing. Dual pricing means one price for above poverty line and another price for below poverty line. That was dual pricing. So it was thought that targeting will improve much better. And then there was center-state control system. Central government will release the food grains and that will go to the state government. Central government will release the food grains and that will go to the state government and they will then distribute it. All right, that was the central state control system that was brought in. ये लाने का कारण ये था क्योंकि बहुत सारा खर्चा हो रहा था on food distribution without getting the commensurate benefit. कहने के लिए हम बहुत पैसे खर्च कर रहे थे. In fact, the food secure subsidy bill in 1995 was one of the highest that India had ever seen. And due to that, this targeted PDS was talked about. That okay, there should be one PDS for below poverty line and another for above poverty line. इसका एक और कारण था. Food production in India was getting stagnated. So food prices were rising because of that. Like food production reached 140 million tons by 1979-80, and then it was not reaching 150 million tons till as late as 2001 odd. तो इसके वजह से अगर food production जो stagnated था 100 million ton से 150 million ton के बीच में, but population was rising. Population of India, when say, take like this, 100 million tons we touch in 1971. And population in those days was approximately 55 crore people. And by 2001, we are still hovering around the same number, 150 million tons, say 50 million tons more, but the population had also now gone up to 200 crore people. Now that was the challenge we were facing. That population had doubled up, food production was not catching up, and therefore now TPDS was all thought about. Then, if you look at review of PDS, review means that how has PDS performed. One challenge we have seen is limited benefits to the poor. You know, that is one challenge. The poor have not always benefited because inter-regional distribution has shown bias. Poor states like Bihar, Orissa, Madhya Pradesh, their upliftment for PDS has been lesser than the richer states like Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra or Kerala. And that is because of their better infrastructure. Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Kerala, they created better infrastructure for PDS distribution. They could uplift more from them, and poorer states could not do that. And that meant, but ideally what should have happened? There should have been more upliftment by the poorer states. So that was the limited benefit part one. And also, that many state governments have not created distribution facilities, as in from where ration shop, as we call them more popularly, from where the poor can come and easily pick it up. This has also been a challenge. Many states don't have point of sale machine. Point of sale machine is where your Aadhaar authentication can take place. So there are few places where Aadhaar authentication takes place. These are the challenges sometimes that you face when it comes to poor distributional mechanism. Another problem is difficulty in targeting. तो MS स्वामीनाथन ने दो issues highlight किए. एक उन्होंने कहा conceptual issue. That is, TPDS में जो आपने poverty define किया, वो conceptually कैसे define करोगे या identify करोगे rural areas में. So identification becomes a problem due to conceptual definition of poverty line. All right. And the second issue that they said was operational issue. That one is identifying in theory who are the poor, what are the criteria they should fulfill. तुम सोचो हम सब पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं ना, सब बात अच्छे से जाननी चाहिए, तो भी जब EWS का फॉर्म भरना होता है, OBC क्रीमी लेयर का फॉर्म भरना होता है, कानून ऐसे घुमा फिरा के हैं कि लगता है पता नहीं है मैं क्वालिफाई करता हूं या नहीं. तो ये कहानी है कंसेप्चुअल इशू की. कि कहने के लिए तो कहा गया ये गरीब है वो गरीब नहीं है, ऐसे गरीबी होगी वो गरीबी नहीं होगी. अब पहचाने कैसे कि मैं गरीब हूं या नहीं? क्योंकि उसके बेसिस पे TPDS में जाऊंगा. So identification becomes an issue in that sense. That is the theoretical or conceptual identification of the poor. That definition is too complex. And practical identification is sometimes when the poor don't know they are poor, they are not reporting themselves at the ration shop, and then their money, their amount gets siphoned out somewhere else. So these are issues that we faced. Then leakages and diversion is a big issue. We have developed a decent technique in that. And many states in India have seen this. The sacks are loaded on the mandis or by FCI godown, by FCI office. They have to go to the godown. In between the transit time, the sacks will be changed, and sacks with sand, sacks with pebbles will be replacing, say 10 out of 200 sacks on the truck. You know, ये organized crime का तरीका बन गया है. अगर 200 बोरे जा रहे हैं इस ट्रक में, तो उनमें से 10 को रिप्लेस कर दिया जाएगा, 20 को रिप्लेस कर दिया जाएगा, और रैंडमली अलग अलग जगह पे. They know that they won't open up each sack and check. They also know that all these sacks will finally go to the godown and will come out of the godown not before next couple of years. So it becomes a very nice method. Change the sacks, put it across. Now imagine if it is 10% of or even 5% of things siphoned out, and if you are sending something like 100 million tons to the godown, then 5 million tons of food grain. Now that's huge number. That's 5,000 crore kg is what we are looking at. You know, you can think of it, if 1 kg can be sold even for 20 rupees, you have a nice 1 lakh crore rupees per annum scam that you are running now. And all this without ruffling any feather. ये करते हुए कोई गुस्सा नहीं हो रहा क्योंकि किसी को पता ही नहीं चल रहा ये हो रहा है. तो ये जो चक्कर है ये हमें बहुत हार्म करता है. There is leakages at times. Then another is irregular arrival of grains in fair price shops, and that is because of bureaucratic delays. Many times the permissions are not given, the connectivity is not well built, so food grains don't arrive on time to the fair price shops, and then people are denied. And remember that denial is very problematic. Many people travel a distance of 5 kilometers, 8 kilometers, 3 kilometers to come to the PDS part, public distribution shop. Now if you are denying them of food, saying that, oh, today the food is not available, come tomorrow. The fellow walked 5 kilometers. Will have to walk back 5 kilometers. You expect this person to come back again 5 kilometers next day. The person won't find it very conducive. It is a problem part that way. Healthy India, yes. Make people walk. All right. Then there is, of course, and this is another important point, keep in mind, no variation in purchase across expenditure groups which raises suspicion. Normally, what would you expect? Comparatively richer people will have less expenditure on PDS-based grains. The poorer you become, more will be your uptake from the from the PDS system. We see it's all uniform. 5 kg का लिमिट बना हुआ है, जो अमीर है वो भी 5 kg खा रहे हैं, जो गरीब है वो भी 5 kg खा रहे हैं. अंधेर नगरी, चौपट राजा, टका सिर भाजी, टका सिर खाजा. It's just going on like that. And that is what brings the suspicion that that means people are actually uplifting more in the name of those who are not taking the benefits and then selling it in the open market. It is one of the worst kept secrets of India that PDS grains are sold in the open market. Everybody knows, but nobody talks about it. So that's another challenge that we have. Another challenge that is there is it puts a high burden of subsidy on government, especially after the National Food Security Act. And today even more so. Under National Food Security Act, the government has said that we will be giving 5 kg of food grain, wheat, rice and millet, or millet rather, per person per family. Initially it was fixed at 2 rupees, 3 rupees and 1 rupee per kg per person, per grain. From 2023, January 1, the government has said now it will all be free, given to people. And the coverage is bottom 67% of India's population. Now imagine if it is bottom 67% of India's population, we are 1.4 billion people, it kind of starts adding up to 1 billion people. India doesn't have so many poor people who will need free food grains from the government. And that is the problem part. Heavy burden of subsidy without benefiting people. Then there is another problem of inefficiencies in operation of FCI. Wastage is one big inefficiency. And again, selling to private agents is another big inefficiency. So keep it like that in the mind. Then I've given you a debate about cash transfers versus PDS. The biggest challenge in that is, ideally we can shift to cash transfer rather than remaining with PDS. But the biggest challenge in shifting to the cash transfer part is identification, bank accounts, and we have created a system of PDS which is functional now. We will have to dismantle it, bring a new system all over again. So what we should rather do is continue with the Aadhaar linked system and continue with the cash system, making it optional for those who would like it. Like those who want PDS based methods can get that, and start giving an option that those who don't need PDS food grains can convert it into cash and can get it delivered into their account. And gradually then we can think about making cash-based system a reality, but right now that can be a beginning point. So this is the other important factor, keep it in mind, for poverty alleviation that our government has done. I need you to write down 2 lines below that. You write, from 1st January, from 1st January 2023, आपके पीडीएस के नोट्स में आप ये ऐड कर लेना. From 1st January 2023, government has amended National Food Security Act. Government has amended National Food Security Act National Food Security Act, allowing beneficiaries in NFSA to take up to 5 kg of food grains, up to 5 kg of food grains per person per month free of cost. It also entitles, it here is National Food Security Act, it also entitles 35 kg of food grains this is 7 kg per person, 35 kg of food grains per month for extremely poor families, for extremely poor families under Antyodaya Yojana, under Antyodaya, ANTYODAY, under Antyodaya Yojana. All right? Keep it like this. In your book, you have National Food Security Act with poverty discussion. You can read through that. I'll begin on Monday. Tomorrow you can have an off. I'll begin on Monday talking to you on other schemes for poverty, and then we can finish up on few discussions on inequality and unemployment. Thank you. I'll see you then. So then after the either A signs and person signs a new contract with B, or after the contract period is over, they can switch over. No, that will be illegal, no? Expenditure is a better idea of standard of living. ठीक है, साथ में इनकम को तो सेव भी करते हैं बहुत लोग, बट खर्चे करने से स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग का आइडिया लगता है. Okay? So Anusha, I'm answering your question. The whole idea there is that increase money for the people by giving them higher MSP on these crops. Giving seeds may not work entirely. Urban Manrega will not be working very well, Manaswi. It's a bad idea. Rather, there should be more focus on training people and making them get effective jobs. I hope you heard me, Shubham, on that. Through socio-economic caste census, we know who is extremely poor. After land reforms, you will see the farm bill part. Yes, I think we can go to developed countries then, Nikhil. Okay, people online, I'll see you on Monday, 2:50 then. Thank you.